Welcome to another episode of the Restorative Longevity Podcast. We do this every Sunday at 8:30 Central Standard Time. And so the topic of today is diets based on reality. Okay, reality-based research. And I'm going to explain to you what reality-based research is. It's completely different from evidence-based research. Good morning, Victory. Good morning. Thank you for joining. Awesome. So as in alignment with how I do these podcasts, I'm going to give you the point of this podcast right now. The point of this podcast, just for some of y'all who watch other podcasts and you're like, okay, when are you going to get to the point? What's the point of this, right? Here's the point. The point is a pescatarian diet is the best diet for everybody if your goal is restorative longevity. So this podcast is about restorative longevity. It's not about short-term gains. It's about long-term gains, which means restorative longevity is how do I live longer? How do I age better? How do I live longer but have longer quality of life? So that is the purpose of this podcast. So pescatarian, what does that mean? Pescatarian diet is a vegetarian diet plus fish and very little meat. That is the best diet, if you want to use the word diet. That is the best diet for restorative longevity, okay? And let's go into the details, right? I'm gonna start off by going over some statistics or some research. Most people like research. Everybody, especially physicians, scientists, they always like to say, where's the research, right? As you know, my opinion, or maybe you don't know my thoughts about research. Research can be manipulated, right? So I do love research. I'm a biochemist. I love research, but I don't trust it 100% because it depends on who pays for the research. That will tell you the result. So if a research company, if a research is paid for by the sugar industry, guess what? That research is going to show that eating sugar is good for your health. If you read research that is paid for by the dairy industry, the research results, I can tell you, I don't need to read it, that the research results is going to tell you eating dairy is going to be healthy for you, right? So whoever pays for the research will determine the result of that research. But not to go into too much detail of that. The first study that I want to talk about it's one of the blue zones. It's Loma Linda, California. So there is a blue zone here in the US. What is a blue zone? A blue zone is people who live past 100 and they have a better quality of life than the average American who's in their 60s or 70s, who are barely walking, they're hobbling along, they can't sitting all day. These people in the blue zones, they're living past 100. They're still golfing, they're still playing tennis, they're still gardening, they're still shepherding, they're still raising cattle, they're still doing all of the things that 70-year-olds, the average 70-year-old in the US cannot do. Okay? Happy Sunday, Mary. So this research is from Loma Linda, California. It's one of the blue zones. It's called the Adventist Health Study. So this is the first one, and it was funded. So who paid for it, right? You always want to know, when you're reading research, you always want to know who is paying for the research. Like I just said, whoever pays the research, if it's not a organization that's a nonprofit or that is geared towards helping the human population, helping everybody get healthy, and there's no profits to be gained from a specific company or industry, that's how I look for research, right? So this research was funded by the National Institutes of Health, NIH. So National Institutes of Health. It's a government agency, right? It's a U.S. government agency that is supposed to help the American public get real, accurate data on how we can have a longer life and a higher quality of life, right? And so can the National Institute of Health be manipulated? Absolutely. There's corruption all over in every government in the world, right? And I'm not going to go into that. But if I were to look at research funded by the NIH, it is a little more credible than a research funded by pharmaceutical companies, nutrition companies, sugar companies, tobacco companies, cancer companies, right? I tend to be more trusting in if it's funded by a governmental agency. Now, with this research, they followed 34,000 people. If you look at research, many of the research, they're just maybe a couple hundred, maybe not even 100, or maybe a couple thousand. This was 34,000 people. They follow them over a 14-year period. 14-year period, okay? There was another big study. There's a book called The China Study. Highly recommend you read that. That's actually, they looked at even more people than 34,000 people. I think they looked at millions of people, right? Over a long periods of time. So if you want to follow research, the best type of research is they do a lot of people. They follow a lot of people, and it's over a long period of time. It's not done in a 1-week test tube in a laboratory. It's like, oh, let's get everybody into a lab for 1 week and let's do the test, right? So this one's over 14 years. And this is what they found. People who followed, so the Adventists are a religious-based group, right? They found that the people that are in this study, the 34,000 that follow the religious teachings very strictly, they strictly followed it, right? So there are obviously people that didn't follow it strictly, but the people that followed it strictly, they lived about 10 years longer. 10 years longer than people who were not strict. So how can we apply this to our personal lives? Regardless of what diet you're doing, the reason why it's not working, if you're doing a diet and you've done many diets, the reason why they're not working is because you're not strict with it. That could be one reason, right? So that's one thing. Are you strict with it? Strict with means is like when you're baking a cake and you want to bake a cake, you got a recipe for a cake. This cake is phenomenal. If you follow that recipe strictly, exactly as it's written, you will get the cake, right? If the recipe is written correctly, you will get the exact cake that you want to get. But when you veer off from that recipe, guess what? You're not going to get the exact cake, right? And so those of you who are cooks or bakers understand that. That's for any dish. So that's the same with when you're changing your lifestyle, you're changing your dietary habits. You need to make sure, are you strict? Are you doing it exactly, right? And one of the common excuses that we give ourselves is that, oh, but my life is so busy and blah, 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 okay? When you say your life is so busy, you're really saying that your health is not as important than the other thing that you're doing. That's what you're really saying. So I understand it's a little confronting, but we need to confront ourselves. We need to confront ourselves if we want to have a higher quality of life. You cannot say, oh, but my doctor told me to do this. Oh, my holistic doctor told me to do this, right? Yes, they may have told you to do something that is wrong, right? But don't live in your body. So you have to take control of your own body, right? We cannot blame doctors for giving us the wrong information, right? So what else did they find? They found out that there were 5 categories. 5 categories. So in this 34,000, they followed 34,000 people over a 14-year period. They found 5 categories, 5 things that they did that each of these categories would extend your life expectancy by 2 years. It would extend your life expectancy by 2 years. Okay, so you're ready? You got your pen down? You ready to take some notes? Number 1, eating a plant-based diet with only small amounts of dairy or fish. If you eat a plant-based diet with a small amounts of dairy and fish, you will extend your life by 2 more years. Next, not smoking. Not smoking will also extend your life by 2 more years. And maintaining medium body weight. Maintaining medium body weight. That's number 3, right? So many people, many physicians, if you go to a physician, they will tell you, if you have cardiovascular disease, you have high cholesterol, you have fatty liver, you have diabetes, they will say you need to lose weight. You need to lose weight, and then those disorders will go away, right? So here's another twist on that. I'm not going to say they're wrong, because they will have research to base on what they say, right? And so this is about what you want to believe. So the belief over observing, right? patients in my clinic, thousands of patients in our clinic, my clinic in Achieve Integrative Health in Cedar Park, Texas, and also reading and learning about the blue zones. That information is actually, there's another way. If you have chronic hypertension, you have hypertension, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, overweight, you have diabetes, you have chronic pain, those are not caused by your weight gain. Those disorders caused your weight gain. Now, what caused your weight gain? Your weight gain, you want to write this down. If you truly want to lose weight permanently, here's the true cause of weight gain: organ dysfunction. It's because your organ system's dysfunctioned. That's why you gained weight. Now, yes, some of y'all be like, well, what if I've eaten cake, donuts every day? Of course, that's common sense. If you're eating donuts every day, of course you're going to gain weight, right? But what did the donuts do? The donuts damaged your organ system, which therefore caused you to gain weight and therefore cause your diabetes, right? So by losing weight will not fix your diabetes, cholesterol, hypertension, your neuropathy, your infertility. It won't fix it. It will help it temporarily, but it won't fix it because you didn't address the root cause. The root cause was organ dysfunction. So number four, eating a handful of nuts 4 to 5 times per week. Now these are not honey roasted, sugar coated nuts. They're raw nuts, okay? Handful of nuts 4 to 5 times per week. That will increase your life expectancy by 2 years. The last one, doing regular physical activity. You'll notice they didn't use the word exercise. If you want restorative longevity, exercise, I'm going to say something that's going to, people are going to like, what? They're going to question this. Exercise is not the key. It is doing regular physical activity. Exercise is not regular physical activity. Can exercise be a part of your physical activity? Absolutely. But exercise is not. Everybody knows, how do you get healthy? You need a diet and exercise. I actually don't even like the word diet. I gotta find a new way, right? New term for that. So the word exercise is so misleading. Exercise does not help you restore your organ functions. And I've dispensed this information, my definition, wrong information. I've personally just said this myself. So, shame on me from the past, right? So it is not exercise. Exercise does not help you live 2 more years, extend. It is doing regular physical activity. And we'll dive into another podcast in regards to what is physical activity and how do you do that, right? So let me come back to the 5 things. Remember, these 5 things, if you do all 5 of them consistently, strictly, every single day, you will extend your life expectancy by 10 years, right? So you'll live longer for 10 years. And here's another thing. You will have a higher quality of life. So you will have great quality of life for 10 years extra, right? So let's go back to the 5 things. Eating a plant-based diet with only a small amounts of dairy or fish. That's a pescatarian diet. Number 2 is not smoking. Number 3 is maintaining a medium body weight. Number 4 is eating a handful of nuts 4 to 5 times per week. Number 5 is doing regular physical activity. This is observing 34,000 Americans for over 14 years. This is what I call reality-based research, okay? Reality-based research, I'm gonna create that term because most of the research is not reality-based. Reality-based research is people actually, this is what they do on a daily, consistent. This is their normal day. It's not like we get a group of people and we change the way they do things, right? We say, oh, you can't do this for this research. Because in a research, you have to, it's called a double-blinded study, it has to be controlled. So scientists, physicians, they all believe in these controlled studies. And they have its place. I'm not saying they're all wrong. They have its place. They give us a piece of information, which is great, but they don't give us all the information. So when someone tells me, oh, where's the evidence-based research? It gives me, okay, maybe I'll take some pointers from that, but I don't entirely believe in it, right? So reality-based research is observing people in their normal habitat and normal living. What are they doing on a normal basis? And we're just kind of like a secret hidden camera looking and observing what they're doing, right? So that to me is the best type of research, because the evidence-based research, you'll find out, some people, they do it. Let's say the evidence-based research says that exercising 3 to 5 times, you can find many research about evidence-based research, exercising 3 to 5 times per week improves your health, right? Well, yes, it does, but here's the thing, it only does it temporary. It doesn't do it permanently. It's not long-term effects. It's not long-lasting results. It's short-term results. But again, what do you want? Do you want short-term benefits or you want long-term benefits? This podcast is all about long-term benefits, okay? Long-term benefits. So we're not focused on short-term benefits here. Okay, so now the NIH did another, so this was the first study. It was called the Adventist Health Study number 1. They did a second one. They followed up with that. An Adventist Health Study number 2. This time, instead of 34,000 people, they followed 96,000 people. So almost 100,000 people, right? They followed almost 100,000 people. And this is how they broke the categories. This is what they were observing. They were trying to find out which diet, because everybody has the same question, which diet is the best diet for every human being, right? So they did this study for 96,000, almost 100,000 people, and they classified all these 96,000 people into 4 main categories based on how they eat. Number 1 is vegans. Vegans, 0 animal anything. No milk, dairy, no meat, nothing, right? Then is number 2, ovo-lacto vegetarians. So these are vegetarians who eat eggs and dairy, right? So the first one is vegans, right? Pure vegetable based. Second one is ovo-lacto vegetarians, vegetarians who consume eggs and dairy. And number 3 was the pesco-vegetarians, which are what we hear as pescatarians. They eat a little fish, a little meat. And then the 4th one was non-vegetarians. These are the meat eaters. These are the keto diet. These are the carnivore diet, right? And so what did they find out? They found out that the meat eaters, right, were likely to be 20 pounds extra heavier. They gained 20 pounds extra heavier. And this was interesting, right? Because we have the carnivore diet, the recent research in nutrition and diet right now that is telling you the carnivore diet. We used to have the Atkins diet. We used paleo diet. We have the caveman diet, right? And a lot of people were losing weight, right? And it's true, they were losing weight. I know people that are doing it. They're like, oh man, my skin got better, and they're losing weight, right? And they feel better energy. Remember, what's this podcast about? Restorative longevity. We're talking about long-term results, not short-term. Because after a few months, some people after a few weeks, some people it takes a few months. After a few months, if they are really honest with you, if it's someone that you are very close with, you will find out that people on those meat diets, the carnivore diet, the Atkins diet, the caveman diet, paleo diet, the keto diet, they're all animal protein based, right? Their results start to reverse. They start to gain weight. And here's another thing, because the animal meat, any type of animal products is inflammatory. It generates inflammation. So many of them have joint pain. They have aches and pains. They'll tell you, oh, no, I feel great. Yeah, aches and pains are, that's just normal. No, it's not normal. It is not normal to have aches and pains. It is abnormal to have aches and pains, guys. So if someone tells you and they're trying to brush it off, they're just trying to substantiate what they did, what they believe. Nobody wants to be proven wrong. So when someone does a carnivore diet and they're feeling they lose 50 pounds, feel great, lots of energy, brain clarity initially the first few months, and then eventually you'll start going downhill, right? They're not going to admit it because they just told you they did something that worked and they're trying to get you to do it, right? So that's just human psychology. So let's look at the reality-based research. Remember, those evidence-based research there's evidence-based research that will show you the carnivore diet is phenomenal for your health, but they don't tell you it's only short-term, right? They don't do it over a 14-year period. The meat eaters will also die sooner. That's what they found. And the vegans tend to weigh less, but they didn't live the longest. Guess who lived the longest? So let me ask you, I like to get y'all involved and not just me talking. So those of y'all, thank you for attending. If you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. Get your friends and family to subscribe because they need to hear this information if they want restorative longevity. If you want your family members to have restorative longevity, get them on this podcast, right? Because this is what we're all talking about. So here's the question. Who lives longer? Who lives longer and has a better quality of life? There's 4 main categories. Vegans, ovo-lacto-vegetarians, number 2. Number 3, pescatarians. Number 4, meat eaters. Out of these 4 categories, please type in the chat. I want to see what y'all think. Which of these categories the people live the longest and the higher quality of life? Victory. I'm new to your channel and have stage 3 chronic kidney disease. Have been losing weight through exercise. Looking for a breakthrough to reverse it. Which of these 4 categories, vegans, ovo-lacto-vegetarians, or pescatarians, or non-vegetarians, which one of these live the longest? So Victory says pescatarians. Anybody else? Evelyn says meat eaters. Anybody else? What do you think? Who lives the longest? Not the shortest, the longest. I'm going to continue on. Here's what the research, the reality-based research of observing 96,000 people. Victory, you are correct. Pescatarians, they live the longest. The meat eaters die the quickest. So if you want to go to the grave faster, you eat more animal protein. So let me address Victory. So chronic stage 3A chronic kidney disease. It is absolutely reversible. We've done it in my clinic. Is it losing Again, it's not about exercise, Victory. It is about daily, regular activity, doing regular physical activity. And you need to find someone you need to find a practitioner, Victory, you need to find a practitioner that is focused on organ function, restoring organ function, right? What does that mean by restoring organ function? Restoring organ function does not mean take a bunch of medication. First of all, medication cannot restore your organ function. If you didn't know that, medications cannot restore your organ function. How do I know that is true? You can stop taking again, I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm not telling you to stop taking your medications. I cannot tell you legally, I cannot tell you to do whatever with your medications. So that's not what I'm telling you to do. But I'm just saying, theoretically, right? Let's just say me, if I'm taking medications, which I do not, if I'm taking medications for hypertension, high blood pressure, if I'm taking blood pressure medications, how will I know if my organ systems are restored? If the medication restores my organ function. If I stop taking the medication, my blood pressure will remain or go back to normal. That's how I will know. But the fact is, once you stop your medications, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your blood sugar, your inflammation, your neuropathy, your GERD, your brain fog, it all comes back, right? I'm not telling you to test this out. I'm just saying, if I were taking medications, let's say for thyroid, if I stop the medications, even those so-called natural, like Armor thyroid, they have they have prescriptions now for natural thyroid. They are better than the synthetic ones, but they're still a crutch. If I stop those, if I'm taking those and I stop those, my thyroid, hypothyroid, it comes right back. This is just logic, right? If medications really, truly restore organ function, once you stop them, your organs should be able to function by themselves, right? Right? Common sense. But the fact is, nobody's organs are restored by medications. Now let's come to supplements. Some supplements help, but even supplements don't restore function, right? But when I'm talking about supplements, I'm not talking about like herbs. I'm talking about like synthetics, like vitamin C, vitamin D. I'm talking about zinc. So that's what I'm talking about, supplements. Supplements don't restore your function either, right? And we prescribe supplements in our clinic. I'm not a hater of medications or supplements or anything. I'm just telling you the truth that no one's going to tell you, right? You need to find someone, Victory, you need to find someone that's focused on helping you restore your organ function. What that means is that it will get your body to heal itself by itself, if it is still possible. You're at stage 3, it may or may not be possible, right? I can tell you it is definitely possible. There is definitely a chance that it can, because we have done it in our practice. Okay, so again, Now let's come back to, I want to share with another thing. So that was in California, right? So pescatarians. So this is the reason why in the beginning I told you pescatarians is the best diet. Pescatarians is a vegetarian diet. We're very minimal, but fish as the main animal protein, and the other animal proteins are very minimal. Okay, so that is the best diet if you want restorative longevity, right? If you want restorative longevity, then that is the best way. You know, another blue zone is Okinawa, Japan, right? And they, you know, all the blue zones did very similar things, very pescatarian diet. And they observed in Japan over years, right? Pre-1949, and so this is over a 40-year period. This is reality-based research, 40 years, right? So in 1949, the diet for Okinawans in Japan, in this specific place, you know, here in the US, we have a lot of research that says grains and carbs are terrible for you, right? Everybody's going on a low-carb diet. 1949, 82% of Okinawan diet was carbs, 82%. And they are one of the blue zones, which means they live past 100, right? Think about that. Only 2%, 2% was animal protein. Now, of course, I'm not telling you to go eat carbs. That's not the point of what I'm saying, because there's different types of carbs, right? But what I wanted to show you is that reality-based research counters, is contradicting, right? It says the opposite of what current research says. Reality-based research tells you something completely different than evidence-based research. 82% of their diet was carbs. Now, in 1989, in the same area of Japan, that's when the what we call the SAD diet, the standard American diet, infiltrated. They call it fast food invasion of Japan, right? Fast food. And then what happened? That's when meat increased 15%, dairy 8%, right? Basically, the carbs went down to close to 50%. What did they notice? So from 1949 to 1989, 1949, they were pescatarian. 1989, they were more fast food and also more like paleo diet. What was the results? Observing these communities over a 40-year period. Cancers of the lung, more cancer of the lung, breast, and colon doubled. Cancer rates doubled, following a more paleo-like diet. Yes, what else did they notice? More strokes, so increase of cancer. Of course, people are going to say the paleo diet is, the current research says the paleo diet is good to prevent cancer. And again, you need to look at what research you want to believe, which research you want to trust, what type of research. So in this, I kind of gave you those 5 things that you could do to increase your life expectancy by 10 years, because each one of them increases by 2 years. That's the first thing that I went over today. The second thing is the pescatarian diet is the best diet for restorative longevity, to live longer, right? Lucy, you want to lose 10 pounds. My question to you will be, do you want to lose it short term or you want to lose it permanently? So if you want to lose it permanently, you're in the right channel. It is the pescatarian diet. You got to start with the pescatarian diet. That is the foundation. Is there other things that you need to do? Absolutely. We're going to go over. There's many things that, if it was that simple, everybody would be living a high quality life, right? It's not that simple. I mean, it's not that easy. It is simple, actually. It's very simple. To live past 100 with a higher quality of life than you were at when you were 50 years old is simple. It's not easy. So number 1, I went over, right? Number 1, when I went over, the 5 things that will increase your lifespan by 10 years, right? Number 2 that I went over, pescatarian diet is the best thing for restorative longevity, right? You're not going to lose the 10 pounds in 1 week like you would do on a carnivore diet. Again, we're not here for short-term benefits. This channel is for long-term benefits and for your family. And the last thing that I addressed was the different types of research, reality-based research versus evidence-based research. Okay, they're not the same, right? The two research that I just shared with y'all, they were over a 14-year period and a 40-year period, observing people in their natural habitat. Observing people in their natural habitat, not what they do for the cameras, not what they do for the scientists, right? It's their daily living, right? So that's those three things. We'll dive into more deep about each and every one of those things, because the reason why I could tell you all the things very quickly in a podcast, but most people will not do it because they don't understand, right? Especially the simple thing of exercise. I went over exercise doesn't help you gain restorative longevity. Exercise does not. That's why you'll see people go to CrossFit, they'll go to Orange Theory, they'll go to F45, P90X, they'll do it, they'll grind, they'll work super hard, 3 to 5 times a week, and they don't lose weight. Or if they lose weight and then they stop doing those Orange Theory, it all comes back. Why is that? You got to think about that. Why is that? Because those things don't address the root cause, which is organ dysfunctions. The way to have restorative longevity is to make sure your organs are all in optimal function. No medication, supplement's going to do that for you, right? There are different things that you can do. Food is a big one, but it's not the biggest one. Surprise, food is not the biggest one. Food is not the biggest cause. I mean, it is a cause, it's a huge cause, but it's not the biggest one, right? So we're going to go through these. So thank you for tuning in to the Restorative Longevity Podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for all those who participated. And I love questions, so you can always ask questions. And this will come back every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. For those of y'all international, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time every Sunday. I go live here on this channel. So thank you. And about to go to church. So have a great Sunday, everybody.